Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is David Benjamin coming to you live from Last Chance Radio. How are you tonight? It's coming up on 8:55 p.m., and everybody's going to probably be getting ready for Monday Night Football and whatnot. But I'll tell you what, before we get there, let's hit on some more news. I'm here to bring it to you. And like I said, I was going to catch you up on some of the older things that I had written. And this was written, I believe, in July 5th. And it was written by myself, and the contributors were Danny at Spatial K, Anderson Toon at Anderson Toon, and produced by the A-Team, but we've since renamed our team on Twitter the Bluesies. You can find us by finding at Constance Undone, at David Man on Fire, at Spatial K3, and at Anderson Toon. That's two O's, Toon. Kind of like a cartoon. My buddy, he and I, we get along really well because we both have a fascination with old Bugs Bunny cells. And if you don't know what a cell is, it's how they originally created cartoons, doing them one at a time and doing the overlay thing. Kind of like the way we see GIFs done today and whatnot. But anyways, what I want to bring to you today is a story about the technocracy. The technocracy that is taking over the United States, and they don't care. They don't have a flag for their country. They go wherever they want. They make individual deals. And I'm talking about Facebook, Twitter, every platform. They all do it. They're flagless entities where there is no patriotism towards something except for success in making money, etc. ad nauseum, as we know. But let's get into this story here, and it's about Palantir. It's about a few of the other options, or a few of the other, I wish they weren't options out there, but let's talk about some of this stuff. Perhaps some of you remember, and many of you will not, that there was a time when a dictator came to power. His genius was pitting everyone against each other. He did not only pit his loyalists against those he deemed disloyal, he pitted everyone inside of his own circle against each other. That sound familiar? It should. What comes around apparently goes around in history once again. So my question to you is this, my friendly reader and now my viewer, and thank you for being here on Last Chance Radio with David Benjamin. We are slowly trying to get our channel up and running, and I hope you can hang in there and deal with us as we move through our glitches and go through our learning teething episodes, so to speak. But we really are glad you're here. Seriously. We need you, and hopefully there'll come a point where you realize you really want us in your home. You're happy to invite us in because we're bringing you intelligence and information that you will not get. The way I've liked to put it recently to some people I've spoken to is getting the news behind the headlines. We get breaking news 24/7 now, but nobody ever tells us. They tell us the headlines, they tell us the splash, they tell us this, that, and the other thing, but nobody actually gets into telling us the depth of the story and what actually becomes important about the story. And that's what I'm here to do for you. So without further ado, let's dive into this. We need to read something that comes from World War II, and it's important to hear it again. You may know it, you may have read it, you may have spoken it even, but let's recite it so that we don't forget it, okay? First, it came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. Let that sink in for a minute, folks. If we don't take care of each other, we're not going to make it. Let's just put it that way. It's just that simple. There's an old thing that Benjamin Franklin used to say, and I absolutely adhere to it, and I never forget it. And it goes like this. They were discussing the Constitution and how they were going against the king and whatnot. And basically Franklin came to the conclusion that surely, if we do not all hang together here and now, we will surely hang separately. We don't hang together now, we'll hang separately, one at a time. It's happened before. Don't think history can't repeat itself, because it can. It has, and it will. I, for one, am not going out being hung by myself. I want to be hung with all my friends, if that's the way it's got to go. But let's not get dark here. We got too much light in our corner to go dark, you know? So, what will be different this time, folks? What will we watch America fall to? Will we watch America fall to the same dictatorial powers that has happened before, assumed more than once before by a singular entity bent on bringing us down with him and all of it into ruin? Does that sound familiar also? Now start reading your World War II history, folks. I'm begging you. Read these words and let them sink in. They weren't coming for me, so what did I care? Then they weren't coming for me still, but they were coming for my neighbors. Then they were coming for the people that believed in different religions. Then they came for people of different color. Then they came for people of different class orientation. This is nonsense, folks. They want us to fight each other. It's exactly what the GRU and what Mr. Putin, the horseback riding bucket of slime, forgive me, would like us to do. He'd like us to cave in on ourselves and cannibalize ourselves. And we see it happening on Twitter. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I'm seeing it on Twitter. I'm seeing people interject themselves into conversations and then tear entire groups apart. And I sit there and shake my head and go, folks, wake up. This is a setup. They're playing a game with you, and you're falling for it. We fell for it in 2016. Are we going to fall for it all over again? Are we going to do that? Folks, let's not do that. Let's show that we got it the first time. We get it. And now we're going to show up, and we're going to vote the turtle out of office, and we're going to vote all the other silent Republicans, excuse me, but I lost my patience and faith in that side, and I really do want to try and stay mid here. I don't want to really bash left, right, etc. It's really not my job to do that. I'll leave that to you to choose whatever is on your mind. Just so you know, that They Came For Me thing was written by a guy named Niemöller, Niemoller, 1946, Frankfurt, Germany. Okay? That should... Frankfurt, Germany. It should ring a bell. It should get your attention a little bit more once again. It seems long ago that these words were said, but I can assure you that there are things that do not change in the midst of emperors and dictators. These words ring down throughout the ages. This I know to be true, and as true as my heart beats blood through my arteries and veins, all of that, all of that is going to need to be on the same page. So bear with me and we'll get there. And this is a little bit larger version of that. I'm sorry. Bear with me for a second here, folks. There we go. That's what I was looking for. We're in a new place. And if you don't mind, if you can read along with me here, I know it's a little bit smaller and I wanted to get it bigger, but even more so, I wanted to get out another episode for you, and I wanted you to hear me, know that I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere. And we're going to put out a schedule and that kind of stuff so that you can join us at a time when you know we're coming on and whatnot. And we're also looking forward to having you in the chat rooms, and we're looking forward to having you help us any way you can. We're looking forward to doing this long term. We're not here today, gone tomorrow. That's not our intent. We're here to tell you this stuff till you get it. And then when you think you got it, we're going to tell you new stuff. We're going to have a good time doing it all together. And that's why I'm really looking forward to you guys being able to get in the chat room while I'm live, right? Because then I'll be able to look and say, so-and-so said this, so-and-so's asking, where is that? And I'll be able to tell you, and we can have an interchange, an exchange of information, an exchange of what's going on out there. And that's the part I'm really looking forward to doing. That's going to be when we really start to go for longer than just a few minutes like we are right now, because these are more or less test sessions for ourselves to see where we are and how we're getting out and how people receive us. I'm going to continue the story now. We're in a new place. When those words were spoken, there was no cell service, no satellites, and no Facebook. There was no Snapchat or whatever social media app you choose these days. I was going back through some older TV shows from the 80s and hit upon an episode of Miami Vice. The episode was miamivice.fandom.com. It's out there if you look for it. And it's the title of that specific show was Victims of Circumstance. And I was deeply struck by the fact that the same BS that they were putting out in this 1980s show, okay, that these fascists on this show, these neo-Nazis, were spewing back then in the 80s during this hot show, all about fashion and all that stuff, right? Well, the same neo-Nazi crap was still being it's exactly the same. It hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is people have died, people have been born, and it seems all new to us all over again. Well, let me tell you, as a little bit of an older fella, I'll let you guess how old I am, and I'm not giving it up anytime soon. We might have to take a bet out on that, right? But right now, in the midst of July 4th, which when I wrote this, July 4th weekend, in 2019, I need to make you aware of a heinous, detrimental string of deadly pearls that should make you want to rise up, should make you really uncomfortable. The scenario runs basically like this. The alphabet soups of the United States, and the alphabet soups are things like the CIA, FBI, DIA, which is Defense Intelligence Agency, the NSA, which by now most of us know who that is, and the DoD, the alphabet agencies, are tied into each other via Amazon Web Services, otherwise known, now you're starting to see commercials of them called AWS, like they're your friend. Well, what they are is a backbone. They are if you see the servers there, that's just one of multiple server farms that they have out there to run AWS, Amazon. But what you have to understand about this is that they're not just doing Amazon's business of you ordering and getting stuff to your house the next day and it's all great. And it is. I use it. I'm not going to say, oh, I'm some conspiracy theorist and they're going to poison me, blah, blah, blah. Not happening. Okay? The point is that these agencies are using Amazon Web Services as a backbone. As a backbone. And what do I mean by a backbone? A backbone is where they dump all their information into and get information back from. This backbone is critical to the transference of information on who ICE is going to go pick up, hold, deport, etc., to people seeking freedom. AWS, Amazon Web Services, was founded by Jeff Bezos originally, and it was the supercomputer machine that processed all the information for Amazon. It uses AI, that's a combination of machine learning, and deep learning, that's ML and DL, machine and deep, M and D. And massive worldwide server clusters, like I was talking about just now, exist, with some of them in the U.S., in Seattle, San Francisco, Northern Virginia, and Oregon. Now, there's a bunch more in hidden places that they don't want you to know about because they do run secret stuff through there. AWS then expanded its services to a multitude of clients that now include, like I said, the CIA, NASA, DoD, and a large number of other government agencies, including ICE. AWS is hosting and processing the government's highly classified and secret compartmentalized information called SCI, secret compartmentalized information. This AWS backbone connects the agencies to a place called the Utah Data Center. And I'm going to move myself over here so that you can see the bottom of that. And we are at the, we're down there now. Okay. Like I said, I'm learning, bear with me. AWS then expanded its service to a multitude of clients that now include CIA, NASA, DoD, and a large number of other government agencies. AWS is hosting and processing the government's highly sensitive top secret compartment, SCI. The backbone connects to the Utah Data Center, and you can look that up on Wikipedia. It's right there. Just pull up Wikipedia and type in Utah Data Center. You won't believe your eyes at what we've allowed them to build in our name. It's insane. This place is so big, they had to divert a cold water river to provide the cooling for the amount of servers that they have in these places. Now, you think Amazon has a cluster of servers? You should see what the Utah Data Center has. This place, when you see the picture of it, and I wish I'd have grabbed a picture of it for you, and perhaps I will next time I come on, just to bring it up and say, hey, look, I grabbed this for you. I'll do that. You guys can see exactly just how insane this thing is. But moving forward, or backward, as I am finding myself working, and I won't be working off the Twitter bird nor an old story. I'll be working off this final page of this. This isn't a joke. We have the alphabets connected to AWS to the Utah Data Center. Now, what happens with this data, as I've explained it to you? It goes from the alphabet soups down the AWS backbone through the Utah Data Center. Then it spreads out once again to be utilized in specific ways. So what happens is that data gets diverted based on algorithmic data gathered on U.S. citizens to fit who is likely to be who is likely to be a bank robber, who is likely to be a child molester, who is likely to be a vote rigger, who is likely to be anything. We're getting really close to Minority Report with these kinds of things. And if you don't believe me, wait till I get towards the end of this. It could be because they're coming after maybe you first. How about that? ICE is using this data right now, and they were using it over. If you remember the July 4th weekend, that was the weekend we were lighting candles in our windows to let immigrants know you can flee to my house. I'll hide you. Just like certain Germans hid Jews during World War II. I'll hide you. I will. And I'll tell the powers that be, tough, you can't come in my house. I don't care if you think I'm hiding someone or not. Go get a warrant. I'll be here. And I'm not trying to start any grief, but I want you to know that we need to be serious and let the powers that be understand something very serious. The Statue of Liberty is not a joke. The last thing, a lot of the soldiers who went to World War II and then died on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day, June 6, 1944, the last thing they ever saw of the United States was the Statue of Liberty. That green, beautiful woman of freedom and hope and prayers. It's the last thing a lot of them saw. And they went and fought and died for it so that we can still have it. There's another thing that John Adams said, republic, a democratic republic is a great thing to have if you can keep it. Think about it. We're going to let it slip out of our hands? Are we just going to sit back while it slides away? Folks, I'm too old to let it just slide away. It's not happening with me. I hope you'll join me, and if I hope I don't ever have to, but if I have to lead the way, I will. As long as I got a few of you behind me, I will. I'm not that brave of a guy, trust me. So who is behind this Big Brother-esque scenario that the Trumps are using now to create their police state? And believe me, they'd like to create it. Because people like Peter Thiel, especially Thiel, maybe not so much Karp, were partners with Elon Musk and PayPal. I don't know if you remember that or not. But anyways, Musk went his way, and Thiel and Karp went their way. And they went their separate ways. And now the idea is that Karp and Thiel want complete control of intelligence data of the United States through a private corporation. Why? Because do you have any idea how difficult it is for an oversight committee of the Congress or the Senate to get into a private corporation? It's one thing if you're a public servant, etc. They subpoena you like we're trying to do with some of these folks out there in D.C., and they can say all that stuff, but they're going to be sorry in the end, believe me when I tell you that. However, when it's a private corporation, a whole different scenario, because there are protections for private corporations, and they knew this, and they did this exactly because of that. They wanted to control the intelligence data of the United States through a private company named Palantir. And if you don't believe me, type in PALANTIR.com. This is an algorithmically dedicated to the highest bidder, mercenary-like of old, except now it's information and not blood on the end of your spear tip. There are hundreds of law enforcement agencies that are using this now, and this is one of the first places we've got to start. Local law enforcement is overly militarized because they went to the feds and adopted some of their techniques and tactics and this and that, and as a reward, they gave them military-type buffaloes, things to run through your house with, all kinds of nonsense, okay? The police are not the military. The police need to stop with the, heavy weaponry and the heavy machinery. Fine, I want you guys to be safe doing your job. But let's understand the difference between you and the FBI hostage rescue team, okay? The majority of you out there in blue are not FBI HRT, okay? Unless your goal is to end up like Lon Horiuski and, being a murderer. That's just my own opinion. Please don't take that as anything for sure. That's just my own, long time view held on that because he was involved in 2 shootings that were really, really pretty gross. In any event, I'll leave that. The Palantir has become a mercenary op, just like Blackwater used to be. And don't think that Blackwater's disappeared. They've turned into Academy with an I, and now they're in China doing things for China that I'm not even going to get into on here. But there's too many law enforcement agencies now using Palantir to target people. Overseas, that this information is not skewed. Who's going to make sure that this information isn't skewed against political opponents? You know how we've been talking about the president, and I'm not going to pick on the president because it's just not my job here, and I'm not doing it. All right? The point is, though, the president did pick up the phone and did say, sure, I'll give you your anti-Russian tank missiles if you do X for me. That's not the way we run our country. We don't blackmail. We don't arm twist. We don't kneecap. We don't act like a bunch of mobsters and hooligans in this country. I don't personally want to see this country roll back to 1881. It was pretty crappy back then. If you think it was cute cowboy stuff, think again. It wasn't. Anyways, who is to say who's going to utilize this stuff and not turn it into Gestapo-ware? Used by the Abwehr, who were the Nazi intelligence services back during World War II. And I urge you again, for the second time in this show, please read about World War II history, especially how Hitler came to power. Because you'll be frightened at the parallels that you see between then and now. People go, oh, it's not the same, it's a joke, are you making this up, blah, blah. No, folks, I'm not making it up. I lived it. My grandmother was in Bergen-Belsen. Okay? My grandmother was in a camp, and they wanted to kill her. And it's not a joke, and it's not funny. Someone who thinks it's funny and comes up into my face is in for a surprise. Anyways, don't get me started. Where this information goes is to a multitude of police departments and even worse, private policing agencies. Just like we've heard about private prisons, there are now private police agencies. And this is frightening because that is Minority Report. That is go out and get them before they commit the crime. More on this story as its tendrils unwind and extend. I will keep up on this story because it's not going to start. This was written on July 4th. And here we are in October the 21st. And it's still going on. There's new things happening out there, and I am collecting them. But for now, I'm going to sign off, and thank you for joining me. I appreciate you taking the time. And I look forward to getting the live chat online. And then I look forward to being able to reach out and ask you to give me $1, give me $2 if you can afford it. Just because I'd like to continue to bring you this information because I think it's important and I think it's worth your time. And with that, good night and good luck from David Benjamin at Last Chance Radio. Have a nice night.